Django rants against Rise of Skywalker. Go one.
It's showtime.
Hey everyone, Django Fett here, Honey Games, comics, TV shows, movies, and more, and this is a review for Star Wars Rise of Skywalker. So I've been really busy. I just got back from Disney World, watched Rise of Skywalker, and finally had a chance to collect my thoughts and really want to dive into this movie. And don't worry, this is not going to be any spoilers whatsoever. And one positive I will say right away is that I'm officially done with these movies now. It's finally done, guys, and I'm so happy. We need a break from Star Wars movies, okay? We need a large break, and probably need to focus on TV shows and video games, because what they're doing right now, fantastic. And I did come back from Galaxy's Edge, and I think everyone needs to see that, because it's amazing. I'll probably talk about it in another episode, in Fett Talk episode, and really dive into that. So it's finally done. This is the last of the trilogy movies, where it continues off from The Last Jedi. The rebels ran away, and the Empire is coming back with Kylo Ren, who is now the Supreme Leader. Kylo Ren eventually finds Palpatine, which everyone saw coming because we saw that in the banner of the poster itself, so there is that. And eventually they join forces, and he is tasked with killing Rey. And Rey and them have an adventure, and there's all these things that happen, and I'll just leave it at that. So I'll say this right off the bat. The movie is bad. Okay, the movie is bad. I mean, that's to be expected. With After The Last Jedi, how can you save this shit? What more can you do with it? But I will say it's not bad to the extent of The Last Jedi, the last movie. I mean, talk about a shit show. I mean, you cannot save yourself from that shit. But this movie was originally supposed to be directed by Colin Trevorrow. After Rian Johnson did the second movie, then he backed away, thank God, because I do think even if Colin Trevorrow would do this movie, it would still be a shit show. The guy has a track record, a bad track record, so there's no way I believe in fucking Colin Trevorrow of all people. And then there is Rian Johnson. Then they wanted to list Rian Johnson to finish the trilogy for some reason after the controversial Last Jedi, and then he backed away too. I'm glad that happened as well, because Rian Johnson is terrible. He should not be doing this stuff. He should be sticking with other indie stuff and not be sticking with the big titles like Star Wars of all movies. Like, no. And then J.J. Abrams came in, and I thought that was the right move. And I honestly think he should have done the second movie, to be honest. Have at least the first guy, one guy, complete the series and complete the whole thing. Because I feel like in this day and age, multiple people with their own visions and stuff cannot do a unified, cohesive story in this day and age. That's how I believe it. J.J. Abrams, I'm actually glad that he came and did the third movie. I do wish he did the second movie and then do the third movie, but that's just my personal opinion. Even though I do think those movies would be a mess, I do think it would be better than what The Last Jedi turned out. It would be cut and dry, rehashed versions of Empire Strikes Back, Return of the Jedi. So this movie was trying to do so many things. It was trying to undo all the shit caused by The Last Jedi, wrap up the trilogy, introduce new elements like the Emperor, and have the characters go to random planets and random nonsense, and supposedly this is the last of the trilogy? Good luck with that. I mean, talk about a goddamn mess. So let's just talk about the positives, man. Let's just talk about the positives right now. This is the most I've actually tolerated of Kylo Ren, but it's really not saying much considering the last two movies. This is the best I've seen of Kylo Ren. He's just not an intimidating villain. He's just there. He's just a villain pretending to be Darth Vader, and he's just a whiny baby. You didn't see it in this movie, thankfully, but towards the end, he definitely got a lot better, I will say that. The actor who played Wedge Antilles, Dennis Lawson, who's in this movie for like 2 seconds, despite saying that he didn't want to be in this movie like a couple years ago. He was in this movie for a short cameo, and it's nice seeing him, the original Wedge Antilles, who Poe Dameron is really based off, sort of in some way. Wedge Antilles is the vastly superior version of Poe Dameron. if he was competent in the EU. And something that I didn't even know about too is that Dennis Lawson is actually Ewan McGregor's uncle. Cool. And there were some cool visuals and action, I guess. I mean, I liked the first couple of action sequences in the beginning, but after that it just died down for me. And another positive is another knock at Last Jedi is that Rose is in the background and barely has any time in this movie. Thank God, because she was easily the most annoying character, most annoying Star Wars character of all time. More annoying than Jar Jar Binks, in my opinion. She was awful in The Last Jedi. And that's really all the positives I can think of at the moment. So let's get into bad stuff. Oh my goodness, there's a lot of bad stuff. So first, the dumb story that feels like it's written by a bunch of 10-year-olds. J.J. Abrams just can't do it with these movies anymore. Like Star Wars, big action movies. He just can't do it. Like, he is just an awful director. I mean, I liked his movies like Star Trek 1 and 2, and I guess Force Awakens a little bit, even though I think it's a bad movie. The guy can't do it. He's just awful. He should do like some indie stuff, but not like these big bloated movies, because he's just terrible. He's not good at all. And the writing really shows with these movies. They have these incredibly stupid plot holes and conveniences for these movies. And then they have these sequences much like The Last Jedi had. And they continue it off with this movie where they have these 4-scene sequences with Kylo Ren and Rey where they're in 2 different areas and they're like talking to each other. And I think that's just bad editing. I just do not like that. It put me off in the movie and put me off altogether completely. I did not like those moments whatsoever, and I think they were just completely dumb and forced just for the characters to meet and do things, and I hated those moments. And much like The Last Jedi, I think The Last Jedi even did it worse in my opinion. It's kind of debatable whether this movie or Last Jedi did it worse. I have no idea, but there's still I do not like that in these movies. Like this just doesn't make any sense. Then we have the side characters like Poe and Finn, and other side characters are completely useless. Phil yells at characters' names and they all just do nothing. And I feel nothing for them, even the main characters as well. I felt nothing for this movie. There is just all the emotion and feeling for these movies is just gone. There's nothing. It's just a bland entry into the Star Wars series. Even C-3PO, who is an amazing side character, who's, well, not amazing, a solid side character, was super annoying in this movie. I could not stand C-3PO in this movie. And then we have these funny and ridiculous death scenes in these movies. I'm not gonna spoil them, but once you watch them, you're gonna be laughing your ass off, because that's what I did. And I was like, what the hell? It's absurd. Same with the plot holes as well. I mean, I was cracking up too with that. And something that really put me off was the really weird sexual tension with some of these characters. These characters like Chewbacca and Maz Kanata, Rey and Ren, Lando and like this girl who's like 40 years younger than him, will have these like stare down moments out of nowhere in the middle of the movie, and it just feels awkward, completely awkward and out of nowhere. Just these awkward stare downs with one another. And I feel like Rey is just, she's out of this movie. Like the actress who plays as Rey, and just wants to bang Ren and cares about no one but herself. The sexual undertones in this movie were really creepy in this movie. And I will never understand the critics when it comes to these movies. I mean, a lot of movies nowadays. I always like to look at the Rotten Tomato scores just for the hell of it. But now it's just like, it's just getting absurd, because they loved The Last Jedi, but everyone hated it. Rise of Skywalker comes out, critics hated it, but people love it. It's just so uneven. And the soundtrack is the worst by far in these Star Wars movies. By far the worst. Completely forgettable, and I didn't even notice it anywhere in this movie. Nothing new or familiar in this movie whatsoever. it's just you don't hear it at all. It's just whatever. And usually that's the strength for the Star Wars movies. Even Force Awakens, even though that's a movie that I don't like, and maybe even Last Jedi to extent. But with this movie, I don't like. There's nothing. Like, I don't feel the awesomeness of John Williams' score. It's nothing. It feels like the same old bland soundtrack that is just in the background. This movie was a freaking mess. And honestly, this is an easy score for me, because even with Last Jedi and even Force Awakens, I feel like the scores I give are just like, after a year later, I give the scores completely wrong. Like, I get them so wrong. Last Jedi, I honestly think at this point it's a 1 out of 5. It's a shit movie, but I gave it a 2 out of 5. I just don't know at the time, but now I'm just at a point where I kind of know more of how to give the scores and feel more strongly about it. So Last Jedi is easily 1 out of 5. Force Awakens is a 3 out of 5. That sounds about right. And then I would say Solo is the best of the trilogies, or the best of the Star Wars Disney stuff, and it's a 3 out of 5. That's a movie I tolerated, and I think it's the best one. Best Star Wars, even though it's a spin-off movie. But I have to give Star Wars Rise of Skywalker a... I don't know what else to say. It's a fucking mess. There's some good things about it, and there's also a lot of bad things that you'll notice right then and there. This movie will make you just go like, what the fuck? And make you laugh out loud at how stupid and absurd some of these things that happen in this movie. It's absolutely crazy. And I honestly feel at this point, this movie makes me more appreciative of the ending of Dark Empire trilogy more than ever. But now I finally get it now, and I finally like appreciate it more now that I've seen this movie and how they butcher Palpatine and what they did with his resurrection and all these other elements with this movie. Man, it's actually not a bad story now that I think about it. So that is my review for Star Wars Rise of Skywalker. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. I have a lot of stuff planned for 2020. Couple of top 10, top 5 lists coming up. Want to do a Fett Talk episode in Galaxy's Edge. Want to talk about that. I definitely want to get back into Star Wars, man. I really want to do that. I've been so lacking on it this year, so I really want to get back into it and review some more comics as well. I think that's like my bread and butter, so I really want to get back into it. I want to review The Mandalorian. I want to give you guys my thoughts on it because I've heard good things. I really want to review The Witcher because I just finished it. Really enjoyed that show, so I really want to talk about that as well. Like this video if you haven't already, and subscribe to my channel Django Fett if you haven't already, and I'll see you, my fellow Mandalorian brothers and sisters, next time. Oh, yeah!